Welcome, everybody. My name is Jeremy Joseph. I am the Assistant Director for the Office of Care and Stability, and I'm joined by Alex Fernandez to provide you guys with a question and answer for some of the questions that we received through the Fitness Center page on fitness and working out, and what does that look like working out at home. And then I'll let Alex introduce himself as well.
Hello, everyone. I'm the Student Services Coordinator in the Office of Care. So I'm one of Jeremy's colleagues. And I guess without further ado, we can get started. So we've put together all the questions. What we can do is outline a couple of key points afterwards. Just some good take-home points that maybe you can implement in your own lives. And again, if you have any other questions, feel free to contact either Jeremy or myself. We'd be more than happy to talk to you, whether it's through email, phone, and then we'll also be letting you know, we'll be describing some wellness coaching that we have at the very end, because we also do some wellness coaching in our office. So first question is household items you can use instead of weights, exercises you can dining room. So what do you think, Jeremy?
Oh, all right. So there's a lot of creativity that can happen at home. Definitely creativity is what you need. So a lot of household items you can use instead of weights. Pretty much anything that has that is weighted. So for instance, if you have a book bag, you can use a backpack, and you can put books inside of it. You can fill it with other household items just to vary the weight. You can put it on your back, and you can do squats with the backpack on your back. You could put it on the front part of your back, on your chest, and you could do front squats with it on your back. You could use it almost like a weighted vest with the other exercises that you do. A couple of other household items I can think of. The other day, I actually used my laundry detergent and a fabric softener, those bottles that you get from the store. I used those as dumbbells, and I did exercises with those that I would normally do with dumbbells. I've done exercise where you carrying a 5-pound bag of rice. So those are a few that come to mind for me. Exercises you can do with the dining room chair. I use chairs for dips. So any type of tricep exercise where I use the chair, put my hands on the chair and do dips off of the ground, or even putting another stool next to the chair for elevated dips. You can use the chair to do inverted push-ups. Depending on the type of chair that you have, if it's stable, maybe you can do step-ups with the chair. If it's not stable, I wouldn't recommend not doing that for safety precautions. But those are a few items that I could think of. Do you have anything to add to that, Alex?
Not really, other than safe. Sure, whatever you're on, like if you, like a chair, like I've literally gone through a chair thinking it's stable and it wasn't stable.
Right.
So if you are going to do like step ups or do anything with like a lot of weight on it, just make sure it's a stable surface. And not only is the chair sturdy enough to hold your weight, but also make sure that the chair is, so where it is on the ground, make sure it's not like slippery. You don't want to get on the chair and then actually have the chair slip. So just that safety bit is very important. Other than that, I mean, I don't have too much to add. I mean, gallon jugs, detergent things, you could fill up a container with water.
Okay.
You know, I've seen people wear like a book bag, like if you're in an apartment complex, you put on a book bag and you run up the stairs with it, you know, or you hold those detergent jugs and go up some stairs, or you'd be surprised. Like it's kind of like if you're making a really hard trip into the house after you leave like the grocery store, you're a little bit winded because you're on like the third floor of your apartment complex. It's kind of the same thing. That's basically exercise. So, but no, the short story is I don't have a lot to add to that.
Well, you made a good point. Water can weigh a lot. So if you have any type of container or jug or anything that you can fill up with water, those will be a great resource to use for weights, whether it's a gallon jug or anything else that you can fill up with water.
Good stuff. So hopefully that answers the question. The second one is just staying safe / proper form. My biggest thing is if something hurts, like, assuming you really good handle on like what is like actual pain and then what's muscular fatigue, or like, okay, the muscles are burning, you're like, oh, okay, is this okay? If you're not used to exerting yourself that much. But if you are, as long as it doesn't hurt, it's probably fine. Like if you have pains in your back or like pains in your knee, that means either A, there's something wrong, or B, you might be doing the exercise wrong. But without actually seeing it firsthand, it's really hard to give like a really good answer for that. Does that make sense? Jeremy, you have anything to add to that?
The only thing I'll add is with safety concerns is just be very cognizant of your surroundings. Excuse me, being at home and trying to be creative. A lot of times you can start lacking on space or like a ideal environment. So make sure that the environment's stable. So if you're using any type of equipment, if you're using a chair, if you want to step up on something, make sure that it's stable before you start to use it. And then if you're using any equipment, also make sure it's either securely fastened, securely tightened, just to kind of make sure that you prevent any any unwanted injuries. And I think that's it. We pretty much covered it.
Oh, and one last little thing that what happens occasionally is sometimes when you start doing an exercise, it doesn't hurt, feels fine, and then the more you do, the more it starts to hurt. Sometimes when you start getting tired, your form starts to get a little bit lax, and then that opens itself up for injury. So if you're doing an exercise and just say you're doing like 20 reps, and then on rep 15, something starts bothering you and it hurts and it continues to hurt, I would stop at that. I would stop at that point, because your form might just be going to the point where you might be doing the exercise incorrectly past that. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think you made a great point. It's more important to perform an exercise with the proper form than just to continue the exercise just for the sake of trying to get your reps in, or just trying to finish what you had originally planned. Don't sacrifice your form for the volume of reps.
Good. All right. This one is a 3-part question. So I'll read the whole thing, and then maybe we can just tackle each part one by one.
Yeah, sounds good.
That we don't answer all of it within the first part, but did you want to read that? Sorry.
So as we try to balance everything, family, work, from home, health, what workout time tends to be the most successful and effective? First thing in the day, around the midday, lunch hour, or later in the day? What are the pros and cons of a workout time in a work from home environment? So the first part of that question is, as we try to balance everything, what workout time tends to be the most successful and effective?
The time you can work out. So whatever time during the day that you have the highest chance of working out with the least conflicts is the best time to work out, in my opinion. Try to rearrange it, like assuming you have like a very flexible day, right? Or you just work from home, you make hours and you can work on any time of the day, then whenever you feel most productive, whenever you have the most energy, you feel good. So some people morning and they're ready to go. Other people like myself, it takes several hours before you start to feel like a human being. Then, for me, a little bit later on in the day, I feel most productive, not first thing in the morning. So I think that all depends. So do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that question is more subjective than anything. It's really personal preference. There's no right or wrong time to work out during the day. It's really just based on your personal preference. And if you're somebody who's new to working out, maybe you should experiment with both times. Maybe you try to work out in the morning and see how that works with your schedule. maybe you try during the middle of the day and then late at night. See which one kind of works better for you, where you feel like you are getting the maximum effort, what feels the best, and then go from there.
And there's, I think that last bit was asking about the pros and cons of workout time and working from home environment.
Yes.
I mean, really, I'm only familiar with one study, and I can't remember the author's names off the top of my head. So where they looked at people training at different times during the day to see, and they were measuring performance. There was a significant difference between groups, but the magnitude of change or the degree of performance increase really wasn't that much from one group to the other. But in the ones who trained later on in the afternoon had slightly greater performance during that time of the day when compared to a group that trained first thing in the morning. But there's a lot of confounds with that study, but all that to say is you also get acclimated to training at a certain time of the day. So it isn't the ideal for you, like you wake up and it's really hard to move in the morning, but your mornings are wide open. So you started training in the morning. After a couple of weeks, you get used to it. And then your performance goes pretty much back to wherever that baseline was, even if you like a slight decrease in the very beginning. So that's all that I can really add.
Yes. So, I would say, in addition to that, once you do solidify which time of day you want to work out in, try to stick to that time. So that way you're building consistency and you've developed a routine and a pattern. It'd be a little bit more challenging to switch up if you're working out in the morning and then you try to work out in the evening or afternoon the next day, and then you keep on going back and forth. Your body's not really adjusting or acclimatizing to the different times of day. And then also your rest and recovery is also being affected by the amount of time that you're resting in between. So pay attention to that. Pros and cons for working out in a home environment. Alex kind of pretty much touched everything. The only other thing I could add is that every work from home environment is different. So again, it goes to personal preference. If you stay in an apartment versus a house, if you have a home gym, if you have space in your house where you can work out inside or in the gym, in your garage, versus if you're in an apartment, maybe you stay on the second or third level and you can't work out in your apartment because there's people below you or whatever it may be, then now you may have to work out outside. So the time of day may affect when you're working out, what you have available. So it can vary.
You have roommates, you have kids, you have a family. Like my window is Elliot's nap time. That's about it. So when my son goes down to a nap, that's my time to work out. The rest of the day is pretty packed with work. And then when he's awake, I don't want to sacrifice spending time with my son. So it's, for me, like that's the time of the day where I need to train. But for somebody else, like if you don't have any other obligations or it's just really easy, then you can just experiment. But you made a good point, being consistent. Try at the same time of the day, every day for a little bit and see how that works for you. Granted, life happens, like some days you just might not be able to at a certain time, but do the best you can to stick with it.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. This is the last one, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any stats on whether working from home causes weight gain? Asking for a friend. I'm not aware of any like actual stats, but I think you can intuitively, logically, you can see how it would be easier to gain weight if you're working from home. I'm right down the hall from a refrigerator, full of food. So it's really easy to take a quick break, and then you mosey over to the fridge and you can take a couple bites of something and go back, and do that like 10 times a day on top of meals. And you're not moving around as much, like when I'm in the office, I'm walking across campus a bunch of times. So I'm getting way fewer steps in working from home. Plus I have a lot of delicious food at my disposal, as opposed to me either A, having to buy something, or B, if it's not in my lunchbox, I'm not eating it. So those are a couple of big things that I can think of that might lead to weight gain while you're at home that you have to be a little bit more mindful of. I know you got something to add. But you have to.
Yeah, it's a completely different environment working from home. So it really depends on what your job function was before you were working from home. Um, like for example, me, I was definitely more active in my job role working in the office. So working from home in a home environment which I'm already comfortable in, it's very easy for me to just sit at the table and work all day, and then after work transition to the couch. And I'm not moving nearly as much. I haven't gotten nearly as many steps as I would normally get throughout the day if I was working at the office. So naturally, if I'm not moving as much, if I'm not as active, I'm not burning as many calories, that could easily lead to weight gain. Um, so I think it's important to be intentional with your time, like intentional with your breaks, intentional with the time that you set aside for workout, just to make sure that you are one staying consistent, and then you also develop that level of discipline because there's a lot of other factors at play. Like Alex said, if you're down, you're right, you're looking at the refrigerator all day. It's very easy to just periodically throughout the day just take breaks and snack, and before you know it, you're mindlessly eating. Now you've consumed way more food than you normally would working in the office. So I think your diet also is a huge factor at play with weight gain from working from home.
No, very good point. And there's a lot of strategies that you could do to try to prevent yourself from gaining weight, or just making sure you're mindful for those things. And one of them is definitely setting time aside every day to train. If you could take more than a couple of walks a day, or get up and go for a couple of quick walks every day, I think if you can get away with doing that, that helps. I had to take my Fitbit off. I was getting depressed because I would hit 8,000, 10,000 steps a day without too much trouble. And I mean, there's where I'm barely hitting 4 digits, and I'm like, whoa, like I'm at 1,500 for a day, because I just sit in front of the computer, walk over to the fridge and have lunch, sit down and eat, and go back to work. And before I knew it, I was hardly moving. So setting that time aside is important. And you could always portion your meals, like pretend like you were making lunch for work the night before and just prep it. So, all you have to do is open up the fridge and be like, well, this is all the food that I'm going to eat today. Instead of snacking, personally, I get kind of snack.
Oh, hey, Alex, you still there?
To kind of portion out some stuff. At least that's one strategy that I've used for myself. I don't know about you, if you have any suggestions. But
I'm sorry, you kind of froze there on my end. So hopefully that it still picked up what you were saying. I didn't catch the tail end of what you were saying.
oh, sorry, I'm on the my out. But what I was saying is, a couple strategies you could use is incorporating those walks, a couple times a day after you're setting time aside to train. And I pre-portion some meals. And sorry, my computer's going. So I pre-portion some meals, and I'm kind of treating it like a work day, right? So it's like if I had breakfast and lunch to work and a snack, then I would portion out those things and put them. So I don't have to think about going hunting around for food. I already have all the food made that I'm going to eat throughout the day. And I try not to deviate too much from what I put aside for myself. And it helps a lot because I don't have to go to the grocery store as much. So I can, grocery stores are just not a place you want to be right now, I guess. So I don't know if you have any suggestions for any type of things that they can try to incorporate and prevent any kind of weight gain. But those are the things I can think of.
Yeah, I mean, I think we pretty much mentioned everything that I would have to add. I mean, just keeping in mind that everything, working from home, everything is in a closer proximity. So even if you are walking to get snacks or you're walking to the bathroom or whatever it may be, you're not walking nearly as far as you would if you were in the office. So throughout the course of the day, you're not nearly as active as you normally would. So you really have to be intentional and mindful of how much you're moving and how much you're sitting throughout the day.
That's me. And a couple of things that we're going to add. So those are just the questions that we have. Feel free to send us any more if you had any.